Hey, what's up, guys? This is Crypto K, or at least that's what my name's going to be if I ever make it famous on YouTube. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about Bitcoin and about cryptocurrency. Everybody's kind of been asking me about that, and I figured I could lay it out in a quick video. So, what is Bitcoin? It's essentially a digital asset. It is somewhat like money, but I would almost compare it to gold, in the sense that at this point it has such a high value that you're not going to want to trade it back and forth like you would paper currency or like fiat money. So at this point I would almost call it a storage of value, by which it's completely virtualized. You don't have to hold it or hold it into another person's interest, for example a bank, and that's really what gives it mostly its value. It's the idea that because of the centralization of these banks, we have, obviously you can see the trend. The dollar has been losing value, inflation is on a rise, and there's a few 1% that really control and monopolize over it all. Bitcoin, being a decentralized currency, allows for not only for its users to be their own bankers, so to speak, but to also hold and gain whatever invested interest they would gain outside of a centralized location such as a bank. So that's kind of a basic overview of what Bitcoin is. I recommend just kind of looking it up, Google it all over the place. Next we have something called an altcoin. And an altcoin, or alternative to Bitcoin, is primarily what I'm invested in. So Bitcoin, it's skyrocketed. I started in Bitcoin. I think this was about 2-3 years ago when it was about 400 bucks. I started buying up Bitcoin. Found it near my birthday. It said it was going to do a halving. I can explain that in later videos what that means, but essentially that means that the value of it was going to go up. The scarcity was going to continue to rise. And so I just saw an opportunity to get in on it and figured I would invest. So with the altcoins, or altcoin, there's probably over 1,300 different various offsprings of what Bitcoin is. So the programmer, Satoshi Nakamoto, or programmers, nobody really knows, created Bitcoin as an open source project, meaning that anybody could read the code and alter the code and then recreate off of that code a digital asset of their own. Some of the main ones that we saw coming out, Namecoin I think was one of the first. Down the line we saw Ethereum, we saw Ripple, and there's just, like I said, over 1,300 of these things being produced and invested and traded on. This isn't a typical Wall Street trading, and by that I mean you're not going to go to your typical bank trading marketplaces and be able to trade these as of yet. I know Bitcoin futures is something that people are talking about, where they'll be able to invest a certain amount of cash or money, a percentage of your portfolio with a bank, and then they will also invest into Bitcoin for you. I'm not much of a fan of that. That kind of takes away the decentralized aspect. But essentially, you can see here we're at CoinMarketCap. So this is pretty much the main dominant spot where people look and to see kind of where we're at as far as all of the altcoins. And I'm just kind of scrolling through real quick. You can see there's just a ton of them. And of course at the top, Bitcoin at now 17,000. Just a ridiculous price, skyrocketing. I think this morning I posted something like 15K. A few days ago I said something like 10K, and it just keeps climbing from there. Right now I believe, if we look at the charts here, we're at a point where I would consider critical mass or mass adoption is being formed. There was some, I read an article saying that there was over 200 to 300 new Japanese businesses, 300,000 Japanese businesses adopting Bitcoin at the moment. So the onboarding process over the 2018-2019 period. So that's a huge growth as far as people taking in Bitcoin just for payments. Again though, I look at it as a storage value rather than a form of payment, just because of the mass size. You don't take something like DAO, for example, worth 20,000 or whatever it is now, and try to fractionalize it in order to make payments off of it. It's very large. Bitcoin itself, however, can be broken up into 8 decimal places. So, you know, if you have $1, you have 100 cents essentially, right? Well, you can go 8 places over past the decimal. So if you were interested in buying Bitcoin, you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. You can buy a very small fraction of Bitcoin, say throw in $100 worth of Bitcoin. And in fact, if we look here and just do something BTC to USD, we can throw $100 and see that $100 is roughly worth 0.01 Bitcoin. So if you were to pay $100, then yeah, you'd be paying 0.01 Bitcoin. So as far as a trade, you know, you can see $1. Well, that doesn't even show up in this calculator. There are some better converters. I believe this one might be it. Yes. So if I say $1 US to Bitcoin and transfer that, 1 USD is equal to 0.00000593657 Bitcoin, essentially. So you can definitely break it down. You can definitely invest at a lower end. Again, that's not necessarily my trading. That's not what I'm into. I'm interested more so on the altcoins. So going back to CoinMarketCap, which is coinmarketcap.com if you're interested. You can see kind of a list of several that some of which I'm actually trading. Cardano I'm invested in, IOTA I'm invested in. I was invested in Dash. I have some Litecoin here. I have a buddy with some Monero and Neo. So it's just kind of looking at each of these products and figuring out who are they, what's their team look like, what's their venture, where are they going. It's like any other, I'd almost look at it like penny stocks, except with this, it's all on a decentralized platform. So you're taking the fundamental technology of Bitcoin and applying it to future relations towards business. So if, for example, I'm banking or I'm looking at doing anything transaction-based, monetarily based, you know, I may create a company that says, hey, we're going to create the next MasterCard or Visa based off of this blockchain technology. That's probably something I should have started with. The blockchain is the over-encompassing, that is the technology that all of these are using, and each have their own blockchain. And by now you should be really confused, so I'd, again, definitely go look it up, ask me questions. I can make other videos towards specifics, such as what is blockchain, what is Bitcoin, what is altcoin, and kind of narrow that down for you. This is just an overall video, just to kind of give you kind of an in on what I'm looking at and what I'm talking about. So one place, if you were interested in getting Bitcoin, Coinbase is probably the most famous spot. You just basically log in, you create email address, all that. You go to the sign in here at the top right, email, password, fill out all the information. Now the only issue with a lot of this is Bitcoin was established, I think it really got its, it got a lot of leverage being on the dark web. So being purchased, you know, in order to maybe do criminal activities, perhaps. I think that's kind of where it got its start. I think there's a lot better advantages than just going and you know, buying drugs online or buying hitmen or whatever you're doing in the dark web. But that's kind of where it got its spot because it allowed users to be anonymous. You don't necessarily have to tie your name into that currency. So for example, you have a credit card, your name's all over it, every transaction, it's all recorded. Now this will provide a ledger, but it's backed with a cryptographic name, so to speak. So just a series of ones and zeros, letters, numbers, etc. that make up who that person is, and that is called a wallet address, essentially. So if we were to look at a Bitcoin wallet address, we would see something like let's just pull up an image here. So like this, here's an address, and it's just a bunch of gibberish and some more gibberish. And you can have as many addresses or as many wallets as you want, but the wallet has to be specific to that coin. So Bitcoin, essentially, you know, you might have a QR code associated with that, and have a wallet that's tied to that. You have both a private and public key that's going to go into the encryption or encryption. I'm not going to really go into that in this video. I'm just trying to get into the scenario of how to obtain maybe your first Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin, and then how to take that and then transition that into your altcoins. So essentially, you go to Coinbase, right? And you end up buying your first Bitcoin. You're gonna have a wallet address, and it's gonna have a way for you to send and a way for you to receive. So you basically click on a send button, and then you put in the wallet address of where you want it to send. In my case, it's going to be at an exchange or my personal wallet, and I'll just send it over there and just hit send, and bam, it sends right over. So now in Bitcoin's case, because it's so, I guess, highly priced, because it's so large at this point, there's so many transactions going on that it takes a while to send. It's not as fast as Visa. Again, it's not a real decent way of exchanging money as much as it is a storage of value. Something like gold. You wouldn't take gold into a shop and say, here's my gold, you know, what are you going to give me? They just don't do that. You have to exchange it into a fiat currency of some sort, pay them $1 or use a credit card, etc. So moving on, there's again, a few altcoins that I'm invested in. Ethereum, that makes up smart contracts, essentially taking out the middlemen from lawyers, etc., in order to basically bypass, like I said, any middlemen into contractual agreements where you may have to pay a certain amount or a fee to provide to these brokers or middlemen. You are essentially cutting them out and allowing this smart technology to kind of run those situations for you. And so I'm getting kind of carried away on that end. But what am I investing in? Right now, like I said, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, Cardano, BitBay, that's a huge one for me. Just kind of going through here, I have some BitShares, I had some ARK for a while, Augur. A lot of these have different purposes. So where do you actually obtain these? And if you go to CoinMarketCap and say I click on Bitcoin, it's going to give me charts. It's gonna see, you know, where it's at, what's the value, etc. I go to markets, and this is really going to show you every exchange that cryptocurrency is going to be held in. There's obviously a ton in BTC. One point that I want to make is most transactions have to start with BTC. So you can't go and buy, well, you can probably buy Ethereum, like Coinbase accepts USD fiat currency for Ethereum. And there's a few currencies like that, like Litecoin, Ethereum, some of the top competitors in CoinMarketCap here. Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe Ripple, Litecoin, and there's a few others you can actually do that with fiat currency. But for the most part, to get started, Bitcoin, and then you want to find the markets. Now, my favorite, of course, is going to be probably Bittrex, this guy right here, most well-known, and we'll just kind of head over there. Here's a little login, blah, blah, blah. But Bittrex is the hub for most US investors. So again, you're going to log in, or you're going to create an account, you're going to log in, and then that's going to gain you access. I'll go into investing and such later, but when you go there, you're going to have, just like any other trade site, you're going to have a list of all the cryptocurrencies you can purchase, and then you're going to import or send your Bitcoin from, say, Coinbase, or if you have some on a hardware wallet or any other wallets, you're going to send that over, and then it's going to load your exchange up with whatever value of Bitcoin you have, and then you simply go through, find what currency you would like to exchange Bitcoin for, and then you purchase those. Now, why would someone do that? It seems kind of ridiculous considering how fast it's growing, but ever since Bitcoin came out and these new tokens, so to speak, came out, Everybody wants to know really what's the next Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is clearly way too large, and it leads a lot of other great projects. There's a lot of issues with Bitcoin, transaction fees, latency on the network. So people are looking at, okay, well, what if I get into Bitcoin Cash? That's actually a really popular one right now. Will that come to 17,000? Personally, I don't think so, but some people do, and they think Bitcoin Cash is the next Bitcoin. That's hence why it's called Bitcoin Cash. So Ripple, that actually is more for the banks, allowing banks to make faster transactions on the back end with lower fees. So looking at a technology like that, well, why I would take Bitcoin and say buy something like Ripple, because back in, here's the price, 0.006 cents, and that was back March 17. And since then, it's already hit a high peak and of over 35-40 cents. I mean, you can see 40 right here, and it's over 40 cents. So 0.006 cents. Say you put $1,000 into that. Well, let's pull out our fancy handy dandy calculator, if I can find it. So if you had 40 cents now, say you put $1,000 in, divide that by 0.006, and yeah, so that's a lot. We'll copy that, and we'll actually just times that now by 40, so that is 166,000 plus, and then we'll times that by 40 cents, and you would have made over $66,000 from a $1,000 investment. So that's pretty much why people are looking at altcoins. You could have done that if you got into Bitcoin, say in 2013, 2014 maybe. You know, that would have been a great time. You can still buy Bitcoin and hold it. I think it's going to go up to 100,000, 500,000. John McAfee says 1 million now, and you know that's by 2020. These coins are expected to keep being mined, or basically obtained through algorithms and cracking these algorithms essentially by these miners, as they call them, all the way through 2100. So it's going for a while, and essentially, you know, you could hold on to Bitcoin right now. Say if it drops back down to $10,000, you could buy one Bitcoin for $10,000 and watch it still go up to $1 million. You're making a serious gain, you know, 100 to 1,000x gain. You're still making some decent money. So people are highly invested into it. The reason why you see Bitcoin going up so high is because of the speculation of the market, because of whales now entering it. You had JP Morgan coming out maybe 2 months ago saying this is a fraud, it's a pyramid scheme, it's terrible. We watched Bitcoin tank. All because some dude from JP Morgan stood up and said it's absolutely terrible. Well, then now what is JP Morgan doing? They bought in on the low because they spread all these rumors, and then now they're buying it and saying, yeah, we're going to look at investing into it and then maybe doing some trade with our clients. So absolutely ridiculous. But so don't listen to the hype. Don't listen to the people on the TV saying, oh, this is a huge bubble. If you want to look at a bubble like tulip bubble or .com bubble, you know, how high can Bitcoin go? It's not that large. You're looking, I mean, it's pretty big. It's $448 billion market. You're looking at the .com bubble as a, what, 6 trillion, 5 to 6 trillion dollar market. So in the scope of reality, this is actually a fairly small market cap. And again, right up here, you can see 66% is owned by Bitcoin, which leaves the rest of that broken up and scattered into several pieces throughout the cryptocurrency. Let's just take a look. Here's market cap for all of the coins, but then we only have this. You know, this is a pretty small cap. We're looking at 150 billion for altcoins without Bitcoin included. So there's a huge potential for several of these to rise. I think right now we're hitting mass adoption for cryptocurrency. I think there's a huge craze for Bitcoin right now because it's famous, but I think it's going to continue to rise. But altcoins essentially are going to be, basically you're going to see Bitcoin get to a certain point where it's then going to fall and it's going to be transitioned into those altcoins. So it's going to hit kind of a peak where sellers are no longer buying Bitcoin. They've had their stash and now they're looking at the other cryptocurrencies to figure out which one of those are going to explode and start pumping up. So I would seriously look at it. Altcoins, it's a lot bigger bang for your buck. If you have $100, you could buy something, for example, like BitBay. BitBay is trying to be the next decentralized market cap. You can see it had a really good rise up here. I actually bought this about here in March at 0.001. You can see this has already climbed up to, yeah, 8 cents. But 8 cents, throw in $100 at 8 cents, if it rises to $10, holy buckets, you just made, you know, pretty good profit right there just off of $100. So that's kind of what the excitement's all about. That's why people are into cryptocurrency. I really just wanted to make this video to exemplify how you can still get in it because it's still early on, and there's several altcoins that are still below $1. I mean, let's look at the price, and then Dogecoin, which is kind of a joke coin, Bytecoin. Some of these really, you have to do your investigation. I'm not a financial advisor by no means, but here's a Verge. It's just like basically Bitcoin, except it has a lot more anonymity to it. Digibyte's another one focusing primarily on security. Funfair, there's actually a decentralized cryptographic casino basically, and they're trying to actually get into the casinos here at Las Vegas. So that one I think is going to blow up here in another year. Some of these though you just hold. Cardano trying to take over Ethereum, which is pretty much always been the second place coin compared to Bitcoin. Ethereum is huge, and they do decentralized smart contracts is what they call, again taking out the middlemen out of legalized disputes, etc. But Cardano is basically a way of doing the same thing that Ethereum's doing, except they've already taken a look at all the difficulties that Ethereum's having, and they're like, how can we better that? So you have an ex-CEO out of Ethereum coming into Cardano saying, how can we now better what Ethereum did, but make it even better? And if you look at, I'm just going to show you here, Crypto Kitties. So this is the new latest craze. It's like Tamagotchi on steroids. And it uses the Ethereum blockchain. But what we are finding out about it is because of this one single application that's written on this blockchain through Ethereum, this whole thing's breaking down. So essentially, Ethereum is getting tied up and you can't make transactions. And it's one single app. I mean, Ethereum has several apps that are built on it. It's a platform builder to allow different apps. It's kind of like if you're a programmer, you have something like JavaScript. You know, you make web pages with JavaScript. You have, even better yet, I would say, Java itself, or C#, which Microsoft uses. That is a platform by which you can build applications on. Ethereum is a platform which you can build decentralized applications on. So here, this application has just blown up. People, there's one Crypto Kitty that was actually sold for over $100,000. So just absolute madness. So again, going back to where we were at with Cardano saying Ethereum is getting tied up just by one application called CryptoKitties. We need to obviously make a way better way of transactions and to speed up the process of the network using technologies talked about such as sidechains and such. I don't know if they use sidechains personally, but it's worth obviously investigating. But essentially other coins coming out and trying to just make the better coin of what was previously built, or completely new ideas that allow people to kind of invest on. For example, there's one coming out called what is it, Bit, it's like Bit University or something like that, or Bit, I can't even remember it, but essentially it is an online community for school, and they're building a brand new platform that is like if you've ever been on edX, or any of those online tutorial schools that teach you or have classrooms online, or like Coursera, that essentially is a decentralized Coursera. That's what's coming out. So a lot of new stuff coming out. You're gonna see even more stuff come out over the next year. As far as where to invest, again, Bittrex, this guy right here, that's a great one. Well, what about when regulations come out? What if governments shut down these exchanges? Because these exchanges are still centralized. Well, then you have stuff like Binance. Binance right now, I can't even pull up the website, Binance is a decentralized exchange by which if one government wanted to shut it down, well, unfortunately, it's spread out so vastly throughout all of its investors that you wouldn't have one point to shut it down. That's the whole idea of these decentralized coins. You can't shut it down. It's widespread. It's like you have to go to every single person and then, you know, shut each one down. And if there's, say, 2 billion people invested in something like Bitcoin, good luck shutting it down. You can't. The only possibility is to lower its value to such an extent that people just sell it off, which is definitely a possibility in the future if the government ever does decide, hey, instead of Bitcoin, I want Fed coin. Just watch out for that. IMF may make their own coin eventually. So that's kind of an idea of where you can invest. Binance, Bittrex, Poloniex is another one coming out of the U.S. It's had some issues here and there. Same with Kraken. So just do a Google search on different places. Again, I recommend Bittrex. I really do like Binance. It's a newer platform, exchange that is getting a lot of people talking. So, and I just wanted to mention real quick, I know that we're seeing, let's go to all, you're seeing a lot of reds, and that is because of the latest craze. That is because of Bitcoin jumping up so high, almost freaking $18,000. By the time I get done with this video, it might even be $20,000. I don't even know when this video is going to be done because I keep talking and talking and talking, but there's so much to talk about. So hopefully I'm going to go in, and I think what I'm going to do is break down, this is just a first video, and I'm really just trying out this OBS connector to share screen. This whole basically this whole recording is just like a test for me anyway. So if you've stood the test of time and stuck with me this far, congratulations, you have patience like an ox. Otherwise, where to store? So that's a really good question. Where to store cryptocurrencies? I have myself, let's go, Trezor. Am I spelling right? Trezor. So you have something called Trezor. This is a really famous one. Basically, it's a little tiny hardware wallet. Hardware Bitcoin wallet. It holds not just your Bitcoin, it holds Ethereum and any other application that's written under the Ethereum platform. So those are called ERC20 tokens. So that is one spot. You also have Ledger Nano. This is just another, again, a piece of plastic, if you will, kind of a nice little USB cryptocurrency hard wallet, and that's pretty much what it is. So you kind of look at different spots that you can store. You can store on an exchange, but if that exchange isn't decentralized and it has a DOS attack against it, so distributed denial of service, essentially a DDoS attack, which will collapse that exchange or basically allow hackers to get in, etc. Don't keep your money on the exchanges. Never keep anything on the exchanges. Once you have what you want, pull it off. This is a really good spot of where you can pull it off to the Ledger Nano S or your Trezor or any other hardware wallet, because you can keep it in a safe and it's yours. The only thing that's getting, if someone robs you, obviously they can steal that, but then you can password protect it, so it's really not likely that someone will want to steal something that they can't get into. But if you try, I'm sure you could. Otherwise, there's different hardware wallets, etc. There is one coming out, Ethos, which I am a big fan in and I am heavily invested in. Ethos is kind of the one-stop shop. By the time that you, like grandparents and moms and dads and all that kind of stuff, get into cryptocurrency and that you're not tech savvy, this is probably going to be the platform that you are going to end up using. Ethos allows for a universal wallet, so it essentially has all of the coins basically in here, so you can go to ethos.io to kind of find out more. But Ethos, the universal wallet, meets super powered digital currency dashboard, meets social network. So they're doing stuff all over the place. You get asset allocation, you cold storage, which is hardware wallets, managed keys, ERC20 tokens are available. You have a social platform where you can talk to one another, etc. Kind of like having a little Facebook, mini Facebook with the coin. Token classification. There's just so much going on with this specific token. This is a huge one that I'm invested in, actually. So check that out, ethos.io. Another one is that I really like here is Power Ledger. Power Ledger essentially is taking solar power and distributing it, again allowing people to use technology like solar technology and distribute that to one another. So there you go, democratization of power. So instead of just having one central place like Excel, which charges you an outrageous amount, what if we have multiple people with their own solar energy taking that energy and then distributing that to people around them locally, and allowing, say, someone like me to build a a roof with solar power, and say I don't use half of the solar power that I gain, being able to distribute that. So this is really cool, and there's obviously a lot more that goes into that, so check out their white paper, Power Ledger applications. Just a whole bunch of good stuff there. But another one again that's like that is Sun Contract. Sun Contract is another one I'm invested in. Clearly I didn't spell that correctly. And Sun Contract is just basically the same. Energy market, blockchain and technology, decentralized energy market. And that's what you get. You get to trade back and forth your energy for, sun. So far it's just sun. I haven't seen anything with hydro or anything like that, since most people don't have just waterfalls sitting in their backyard. But obviously solar is a huge one, and coming up, probably my favorite one and the scariest one is Singularity Net, I believe it is. If you have any idea what Hanson Robotics is, Hanson Robotics is has produced the first humanoid citizen. I forgot which country it is, but they have made this android here, this lady here, Sophia, is now a citizen, and it's a friggin' robot. It's a friggin' robot. That's so cool. So get ready, Terminator is coming, and they are also producing Singularity Net. They haven't released their coin as of yet. They're doing what's called an ICO, which is similar to an IPO, except through cryptocurrency, which I will also be investing in, because this is going to be an amazing project, essentially taking AI and making a collection of every AI. You have Google that has AI, you have just multiple different, I guess, thin tracks, trying to find a better word for it, but you have one company that makes a form of AI for driving cars, but it doesn't know how to drive a motorcycle, it doesn't know how to drive a truck. Or you have another AI that learns how to manipulate facial expressions and to learn characteristics of humans. And then you have another person or another company coming out, AI, that learns how to play math games or whatever it is. You have all these diversified pools of AI, and Singularity Net saying, let's bring all of that essentially together, so we can make a robot and hopefully it doesn't destroy humanity. But we will see. So I'm investing in that. I'm scared shitless with what that's gonna do, but this is a huge one, so check out their videos. This guy is an absolute dork, but a brilliant scientist. Obviously, if he's creating Sophia is just check it out. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much gonna wrap it up. I've already been talking for well over 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't even know anymore. I got lost in my crypto time, right? So hopefully this gives you some sort of idea. I'm sure it got you lost, and I'm going to make probably more specific videos about exactly what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum, what is etc, and just talk about different applications and platforms and such that are going on, and hopefully give you a little bit better idea. Maybe do like a hardware session, just compare different hardwares, etc, or hardware wallets. But preferably just ask me a ton of questions. So, as you're watching this, I should have told you this at the beginning, grab a notebook and just sit down and go, what are you talking about? What is this? What is that? What is that? And just throw them at me, and then I can start making different videos based off of these questions that you have, and then that way I'm not sitting on Facebook trying to tell you exactly what I'm looking at in a couple sentences, because it's just not going to happen. So yeah, I think that's about it. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. If I can stop this thing.